Picture this. The red lights of the Ferrari garage flicker in the late afternoon, and Lewis Hamilton walks out slowly, helmet in hand, his face hidden, but his body language telling the whole story. To the world outside, it looks like defeat, another race, another disappointment. But to those who listen closely, who watch carefully, this silence is louder than words. Behind that walk is frustration, and not just with himself. Because according to former F1 driver Juan Pablo Montoya, Hamilton is not the problem at Ferrari. The shocking truth, as Montoya puts it, is this: it's the engineers. They are the ones refusing to adapt. These words have sent shockwaves through the paddock, because they suggest a clash far deeper than just a driver struggling with a car. This is about pride, about stubbornness, about Ferrari's refusal to bend even for one of the greatest drivers in Formula One history. And if you want to uncover every hidden truth behind the red walls of Maranello, make sure you hit subscribe and stay with us, because the story of Hamilton's fight inside Ferrari is only just beginning. The truth is starting to leak out, and what's coming next could change everything you thought you knew about this season. When Hamilton's move to Ferrari was first announced, it was sold as the dawn of a golden era. The story was supposed to be simple: the greatest driver of a generation joining the most iconic team in Formula One, a pairing written in the stars. But reality has been far colder. In his first season with the Scuderia, Hamilton's biggest highlights have been just one sprint race victory and a single podium in another sprint. That's it. No grand race wins, no dominant Sunday performances, just flashes of what could be. Meanwhile, his teammate Charles Leclerc has stood on the podium 5 times in proper Grands Prix, showing consistency that Hamilton has not been able to match. And that contrast has lit a fire of doubt across the paddock. Did Ferrari make the wrong choice in signing Hamilton at this stage of his career? Or worse, has Hamilton himself lost the edge that once made him unstoppable? For fans, it is uncomfortable. For Ferrari, it is dangerous, because the dream they sold now looks more like a gamble, and people are beginning to question if the gamble is already backfiring. That's when Juan Pablo Montoya, never one to hold back, stepped into the conversation and dropped a bombshell of his own. On his show, the former Formula One driver turned outspoken pundit made it clear: this is not about Lewis Hamilton suddenly forgetting how to drive. Montoya reminded everyone that Hamilton has been driving in a particular style for many years, and that style has delivered him more world championships, historic wins, and records no one thought could be broken. In Montoya's eyes, the issue isn't Hamilton. The issue is Ferrari's engineers. According to him, they are stubbornly insisting that their car must be handled in a completely different way, one that ignores Hamilton's proven strengths. It is a culture clash, a refusal to adapt, and Montoya is clear on where the blame lies. He flips the narrative completely. Hamilton doesn't need to change who he is. Instead, Ferrari's engineers must wake up and realise that forcing their way onto a driver of Hamilton's calibre is not just unwise, it's self-destructive. Montoya didn't stop there. He brought Carlos Sainz into the picture, and the irony was impossible to ignore. When Ferrari signed Hamilton, Sainz was still battling inconsistency, still searching for his rhythm. At that moment, the decision seemed obvious: trade the struggling Spaniard for a 7-time world champion. But then, almost as if fate was playing a cruel trick, Sainz's performances began to soar right after the deal was sealed. Montoya pointed out that if this decision had been delayed by even a single year, Ferrari might have thought twice. They might never have signed Hamilton at all. The irony runs deep. The man Ferrari discarded starts shining brighter, while the legend they brought in now finds himself struggling to prove he belongs in red. It's a twist of fate that adds another layer of drama to Ferrari's already complicated story. But beyond drivers and decisions, there is another culprit lurking in plain sight: the Ferrari SF25 itself. From the very beginning, this machine has shown cracks in its armour. The suspension has been unstable, the setup unpredictable, and instead of giving Hamilton the confidence to attack, it has forced him to fight the car at every corner. Things got even worse after the Chinese Grand Prix, when Ferrari was disqualified for excessive plank wear. To avoid another scandal, the engineers raised the ride height, but in doing so, they turned the car into something even more unstable and erratic. Ferrari's solution was simple: demand that Hamilton change his driving style force him to adapt to their flawed machine. But here lies the conflict. Hamilton has spent years mastering a style that brought him 7 world titles, and he refuses to throw it away just to cover the sins of bad engineering. Charles Leclerc, on the other hand, has grown up inside Ferrari's system, learning their quirks and politics, and that familiarity allows him to squeeze more from the car. The contrast makes Hamilton's struggles appear even sharper, and the blame fall even heavier. But the problems go deeper than just a car with shaky suspension or strange setups. What Hamilton is really facing is a culture clash. At Mercedes, he was surrounded by a world built on efficiency, precision, and constant adaptability. Every decision was aimed at performance, not politics. At Ferrari, however, things work differently. Tradition is sacred, hierarchy is rigid, and politics often outweigh pure results. Montoya believes Ferrari may have underestimated just how difficult this transition would be for a driver like Hamilton. Instead of being free to push as he knows best, he finds himself caught in the middle of an old system that resists change. This means Hamilton is not only fighting against the SF25 on track, but also against the very culture of Maranello off it, a battle that is proving to be even more complex than anything he faced in his Mercedes years. Montoya's message in all of this is simple: patience. He argues that Hamilton needs time to adapt to the red machine, while Ferrari's engineers need time to adjust to the way Hamilton drives. But patience is not something Formula One is famous for, and the whispers around the paddock are already louder than ever. Fans are asking if Ferrari is betraying the very legend they brought in to deliver glory. Hamilton was sold as the man who would lead Maranello into a golden era, yet here he is, often looking isolated and unsupported. Instead of rewriting history with victories, he now looks like a passenger in a team unwilling to bend for him. To some, it feels less like patience and more like abandonment, a painful contrast to the promise that lured him away from Mercedes in the first place. And yet, even in the middle of all this chaos, Hamilton has shown flashes that remind the world why he is a 7-time world champion. In China, he snatched a sprint race victory. In Miami, he claimed a podium in another sprint. And in Monaco, he delivered a powerful qualifying performance that proved his sharpness is still intact. These moments are proof that the magic has not disappeared. It is still there, waiting to shine when the stars align. But every time momentum begins to build, Ferrari's own blunders and costly penalties slam the brakes on progress. It feels like Hamilton is lighting sparks, only for the team around him to pour water on the fire before it can grow into something greater. Ferrari sold Hamilton's arrival as the dawn of a new golden age, a move that would bring back the glory days in Formula One. But if this project collapses, the story will not be gentle. The world will frame it in one of two ways. Either Hamilton was a flop who could not deliver anymore, or Ferrari betrayed a legend by failing to give him the tools to win. Either way, it turns into a public relations disaster, with global headlines spinning the tale as failure, not hope. And behind the red walls of Maranello, the boardroom pressure only grows heavier. Was this move a stroke of genius, or has it become the curse that could haunt Ferrari for years to come? Hamilton's eyes are now fixed on the horizon of 2026, when Formula One's sweeping regulation changes will reset the game. Those new rules could shake up the status quo and finally give him the equal footing he needs to fight again. Until then, every race feels like survival, a battle not just against rivals but against the very car meant to carry him to glory. And as Montoya hinted, Hamilton's future may not lie entirely in his own hands. His fate could rest on whether Ferrari's engineers and leaders are willing to change, or whether they remain trapped in their own stubborn traditions. So the real question now is this: are Ferrari's engineers simply too stubborn to bend, too trapped in their own ways to adapt to one of the greatest drivers in history? Has Hamilton, the man brought in to deliver glory, instead been betrayed by the very team that promised him a new golden era? And in the shadows, could Carlos Sainz be waiting for the ultimate twist, the chance to return as the hero Ferrari never expected? This story isn't ending. In fact, the next chapter could be the most shocking one yet.